Hey everyone, I'm Mackenzie.
And I'm Haley. We are two sisters and best friends, and we're the hosts of Real Talk About Feminism, a podcast for female empowerment.
Each week, we release a new episode. We talk about everything from periods to current events,
and different types of feminism to worst first dates.
Subscribe on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts, and tune in each week.
Thanks for listening.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Real Talk About Feminism. This is episode 30.
Woo!
As we mentioned last episode, there was a little tech issue, and for some reason, our episode numbering got off once we published on Apple Podcasts. So it may seem like we skipped an episode, but we didn't.
Yeah. So this is 30.
Yes.
Yep. So exciting. Today we're really excited to bring on our guest for today's show. Her name is Elizabeth, and she's an influencer based in Miami, Florida. So pretty cool that we're able to interview her. We're in Colorado. She's in Miami. We're looking forward to chatting with her and learning more about her and just the influencer industry overall.
At the end, we're going to do a Q&A section with questions that you guys submitted as well as some of her followers. So let's bring her on. All right, Elizabeth, well, welcome to the show. We're super excited to have you. Let's start with the first question. Why don't you just tell us about yourself, how you got started as an influencer?
Okay, so basically, I started off I feel like nowadays the way girls get into influencing is very different from the way that I got into it because it's a little bit more normalized now, before not necessarily. So when I was in college, I think it was like my first or second year, I joined this like multi-level marketing company where they sold like hair products and all this stuff. Not gonna say the name of the brand, but I'm sure if you did a deep dive on my Instagram, you could definitely figure it out. Um, but anyways, I joined that company and I was there for like 6 months and I learned a lot about like how social media can nurture a business. I learned what influencing actually is. I started to understand it better, what that word means. I think that I really didn't understand influencing or how people even made money online before. So anyways, I was there for 6 months and I left after 6 months. Reason being is that I realized I was pretty good at what I was doing. I was making good money and like I felt like I had a talent and a knack for this. So, but I just didn't feel like that company was right for me, and I felt like I could be doing more and that I could be doing like bigger things. So I left, and when I left, that was right around the time that the pandemic hit. So right around that time is like okay, like basically no social life. I had so much time on my hands, so I was like okay, we can like take this super seriously. And I think that at that point was when I really started to take Instagram seriously, trying to build a platform and build a brand for myself. I was a part of this thing called it's a company called Campus Trendsetters, and I highly recommend it to anybody who's in college. Basically, they help you get collaborations, paid and unpaid. A lot of my first collabs were through them, so that was super helpful. Like, get me to start to understand how this all works. But yeah, and then after that, I was introduced to TikTok. At first, I didn't take TikTok too seriously, but then I realized there was a lot of potential there. And eventually, I grew my TikTok. Now we're like at 34,000 followers, and I have this challenge that became pretty viral. It's called 100 Days to 10K, and a lot of influencers have done it now, and it's super fun to see how like the community is all doing it. But basically, what I did was document my Instagram journey. So I would show people everything I was doing on Instagram, how I was getting engagement, what hashtags I was using, like the whole thing. And people loved it. And I think that that's kind of like when I started to build like a much bigger community. Before that, I was on like around 2,000 followers. Now I'm much closer to 10,000. We're now at like 8,800, something like that. I'm trying to get to 10K before the end of the year. That's like my little goal. But yeah, it's like kind of just, I feel like I'm still on this journey of like growing and like being an influencer. I definitely don't know everything there is to know yet, but it's super exciting and so nice to like be transparent with people on TikTok, showing them exactly what I'm doing. No gatekeeping here. But yeah,
Right.
it's been a roller coaster, and I'm so grateful for the experience. I think that like growing my TikTok account and my Instagram account getting into influencing, all of that gave me a lot of confidence. I mean, I'm a marketing major, but you can learn so many things in the classroom you don't know until you're doing it in real life. So the minute I started doing this stuff in real life, I had so much more confidence in like my skills and what I can do, and then that led me to now I have a social media marketing agency. I help brands, we build accounts, we create content. It's a great time. And yeah, that's basically where I'm at now.
Wow. I have so many things I want to say.
Okay, shoot, go.
First off, I think it's really cool that you used your experience working for that 6 months at that company to what you're doing now. That's really cool. And I've heard a lot of people say they never thought they would be an influencer, but all of their work experience led up to what they're doing now. And I think that's exactly what you've done. It's really
Pretty
cool.
much. Yeah. I think nowadays it's like so normalized. So girls are like, you know what? I'm just gonna start being an influencer, start posting. Like if I knew that, I didn't have to go through all that other stuff.
Yeah, but it helped you for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't be where I'm at if it wasn't for all of the little things that I had to get through to figure it out, basically. So
That is
Right.
so cool. So what would you say your favorite thing is about being an influencer and doing what you do?
Okay. Well, there's a lot of things I really enjoy about doing this and just working in social media in general. I've always been like a very creative person. So I think like the creative aspect, the fact that I mean, for the most part, like creative control over everything that I do, that's extremely liberating. And I come from a family of like entrepreneurs. Like my parents have their business and all that stuff. So I've always raised that like I would be my own boss. I didn't expect to be my own boss by like 20, 21 years old, but it kind of just happened that way. And I love that. Like, I love like being in control of what I'm doing. I get to decide what brands I want to work with. I get to decide how I'm going to go about things. So I really enjoy that aspect. Yeah, I
That's
would say those are my two favorite things.
Yeah, that's a really appealing aspect for a lot of aspiring influencers and
Yeah.
influencers. I think I hear that quite a bit. Do you
Mhm.
still work a typical 9 to 5 job, or is influencing your full-time job?
I love this question. I actually got this question on my Instagram story. I did like a Q&A a couple days ago. Somebody asked me, "Do you have a 9 to 5?" And I was like, "No, not really." So no, I don't have a 9 to 5. I have my company, right? My social media marketing agency. It's called Mevox Media, and but I don't see that as my 9 to 5. I think that my personal platforms work really, really well with that one, and like all the clients that I've gotten it's usually that they find me personally in my platforms, and then they find out that I have a business. They're like, oh, okay, cool. So they work simultaneously. I enjoy having several streams of income. So I think of everything kind of like as an ecosystem. The other day my mom said, oh, it's like a symphony. And I'm like, yeah, there you go. It's like a symphony I'm trying to like put together, and it's still growing. There's so many things I have like in my head, things I want to do. But yeah, like I mean, brand collabs, having my business, all sorts of different things is kind of what eventually compiles into my 9 to 5. But yeah, I don't really, I hope I don't ever have a traditional 9 to 5. I love this like freelancing, being my own boss thing. But yeah, I want to continue to do it this way, and I think it's super liberating, and I think it's amazing over the pandemic how many people are doing this now. So like freelancing has blown up. I mean, not even just the influencer world, but things like Fiverr and like all these companies where people are copywriters and all sorts of different stuff. It's an extremely liberating lifestyle, and also like a lot of financial freedom and a lot more control over your life. It's amazing. So highly recommend.
Yeah, that's a good point because the pandemic, I think, really showed people that they have choices. They don't have to stay at the same job for their whole life. They have
Right.
all these choices and freedoms in the world to do
Yeah.
whatever they want. So that's a
Yeah.
really good point.
It's the beauty of the side hustle that eventually can become main hustle. I mean, I kind of went into that multi-level marketing company mostly like I wasn't necessarily like broke, but I wanted marketing experience, so I went into it,
Mhm.
made a little bit of money, was like, oh, maybe this could be a full time, maybe not. But it was that side hustle, like having something going on extra that I know I could rely on, like in the case of like, okay, I graduate, I can't find a job, well, I have this, you know? And that's the same situation for somebody who's working in corporate America. If you lose your job, like a lot of people did over the pandemic. They
Mhm.
have something to rely on, something that they can be like, okay, well, this didn't work out, but I can go back to this, work hand on that, and I'll have a stream of income. It's kind of like a what's the word, like a security blanket, I guess,
Yeah.
Yeah.
like a right, it's like a backup. It's a backup. Yeah.
Well, I think it's really cool that as a woman, you are totally independent and you have your own business and you've just created
Thank
this
you.
platform for yourself. So kudos to you.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
definitely a female dominated industry. I mean, influencing in general, very female dominating, which is what's so exciting and fun about it. Because all the other girls, they have such great energy, and I meet other influencers, and it's just like a really good energy about it. I imagine, I mean, I've never worked, so I can't compare it, right? But I've never worked like in corporate America, so I don't know what it's like in a different industry. But here, it's like, oh, it's a pretty good time. It's fun and it's different because it's so like fresh and new, and so many girls are in it. So it's awesome.
So, in such a female dominated industry, you just talked about how everyone is super nice and
Yeah,
fun.
for the most part, yeah.
So, are there any times where it feels like a competition, or does it mostly just feel like a community of mostly women who just build each other up?
I would totally be lying if I said that it's not a competition.
Okay.
It depends on the person. I try and never like, okay, we can talk so long about this, like having a healthy relationship with social media. That's a huge thing for influencers and anybody working in social media in general. Having a healthy relationship with it, knowing that you can't compare yourself to other people, like that's a whole thing. That's something you have to work on, like within yourself, every individual person, I think. For me, like I try never to compare myself to other people, but sometimes things get to you, and that's like very normal. And sometimes you want to even compare, like, oh, like, my video is better, my photo is better. How does this person have more followers than me? And like you get competitive about the numbers or the engagements. Like it's not even like body, like, oh my gosh, she has a better body than me, or like she's prettier than me. Sometimes it's literally just like the numbers. All of that can get to you. But you have to, I think I've been doing this, I would say, for like a year-ish now. I try my best not to compare myself to other people, and like surround myself around people who want to build each other up. That's really important. Like the people you surround yourself with, the people that you support, the people that you follow, that they're bringing something positive to the table. That's so important. So yeah, that would be my recommendation. If you're an influencer or whatever, make sure you're following people who like bring goodness into your life. If they're triggering an insecurity, like sometimes it's not even their fault. I mean, if they're beautiful, they're beautiful. But if they're triggering an insecurity in you, maybe you don't need to be following them. Find people who build you up. That's my best advice. And it's worked out for me pretty well.
Good. Yeah, that's great advice on social media and off.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, for sure. So the influencer industry is very glamorized and for a good reason. Like you said, it's super liberating. You own your own business. You get to
yeah.
be creative every single
Mhm.
day. What are some behind the scenes or things that people wouldn't know about influencing that maybe aren't the good side?
I read this quote the other day that said, "Don't compare your life to somebody else's highlight reel." And that is like that
That's
is so
good.
applicable in everything having to do with you know social media. Like not everything is what it seems. A
Mhm.
lot of the really big influencers or influencers that we know and love on TikTok, like they didn't come from like this glamorous like lifestyle, now having their penthouse in New York. Like they had to build up to that. Somebody I love is Victoria Paris, and like she was like a college student. Like she was just out there making videos, making people laugh, doing her thing. Now she like I just saw some videos. She just moved into this like great apartment. She's all happy and liberated and whatever, and independent. I think that's great. Like she went through the climb, and I think for a
Mhm.
lot of influencers it's like that. So like don't judge like where somebody is right now. You have no idea what it was like for them to get there. I mean, I'm just using Victoria Paris because that was somebody who happened to come into my mind. But yeah, like you never know. Like they could be posting at all these glamorous places. Doesn't mean that they're like actually eating at all these glamorous places or attending these glamorous things. You don't know like what their home life could be like, or maybe what it was like before they became a successful influencer. Everybody has their backstory, right? So yeah, not everything is what it seems online. And I think like some of the not so fun parts about being an influencer is there's actually I can come up with quite a few, but I think that I'm trying to think of like a really good one. I think that it's like really hard to hold on. Okay. To like separate like business and like fun, that could be really difficult sometimes, like having, because Instagram for me for a long time was just fun. Like it was like a creative outlet. Then eventually now it's like it kind of feels like a business. And keeping that balance it's not always fun. Like I am the creative director, I'm the photographer, I'm the editor, I'm the marketing person. I'm everything. I have to be the person negotiating on the back end with these brands. Like you don't see that. Like you just see me with the brand online. You don't know what could have happened during the negotiations, right? So all of that, like that part, I mean, depending on the brand, it could not be fun. It could be stressful. Having deadlines. I mean, it's literally like running a one-man show business. For most influencers, it's a one-man show, unless you're pretty big. But yeah, there's so many like positions and titles that you need to like fill when you're building an account. So that can be really difficult, and people don't really see that. They just see you, oh, she's at a cafe, like how cute, how casual, what a glamorous life. Like, no, she was hustling on her laptop at that cafe, and then for 10 minutes took that one photo with the croissant, and then kept hustling on her laptop. Okay, like chill out. So I think yeah, don't compare what it may seem online. You never know. And yeah, I think every influencer is an entrepreneur in a business, and yeah, there's nothing easy about that, especially in the beginning stages.
So, with all of those different aspects that you have to fulfill, the deadlines, all the
Yeah.
editing, making it look perfect, how do you take care of yourself? What do you do to take time and make sure that you are staying mentally stable, physically okay, everything like that? How do you make sure that you're okay?
Um, I genuinely enjoy what I do. And it's so funny because I just talked about all the hard things about it, but I really do love what I do, right? There's always going to be a negative and there's always going to be a positive. And I enjoy like, I enjoy like going out and taking photos. Like I like doing that alone. Like I like being creative. Like that's like fun for me. And it's part of like the business, right? But the business side, but it's also like the fun too. I enjoy like sitting on like some days I'll sit on Instagram and I'll be like, okay, like let's get some inspiration, right? And I'll sit there and I'll look at some other stuff and I'll be like, oh, okay, let's save this, whatever. I enjoy that process. I genuinely like what I do. I really do. And a lot of times it doesn't feel like work. It feels like fun. And it was like it's kind of like a struggle. It was a struggle for me for a while because I was like, I'm a senior right now in college. I'm about to finish. And all my friends are getting jobs and all this stuff. And it becomes a little like I got put in a weird position because I'm like, okay, like I'm doing this and it's kind of like fun and like, but it's also a business and like so it took me a while to take myself seriously and realize that okay, even though this is fun, this is also like a business and a legitimate job that you have, right? So yeah, I think a lot of like business and play gets mixed for me. I since I enjoy it so much, it is kind of like my downtime, my fun time. But something I do that I had to like implement into my routine was just logging off and like disconnecting and being able to separate like the now and the now on social media. So, for example, if I go out and, I'm like, okay, I'm wearing a great outfit, we got to take some photos, whatever. But once the photos are done and we got that, like, that's it. Put away the phone, right? Like, kind of a little bit of self discipline. I mean, I can talk about this for a while, but there are a lot of things that I had to learn to do to be able to disconnect. And those disconnecting moments are kind of like, okay, we're gonna live in the present now. That's my self-love moment. That's my okay, chill sort of moment, I guess. Um, so yeah, I had to learn how to do that. That was hard for a while because it's so easy to be consumed by social media. And I mean, you guys are two young women, so I'm sure you understand. You can
Yeah.
scroll on the For You page for hours, and it's really hard to like get off and be like, Okay. So, yeah, being able to do that was kind of like an act of self love that I had to teach myself. But yeah, I genuinely enjoy what I do. So, yeah, I mean, I do all the normal things, right? Like skincare, we love that,
Mhm.
right? But you know what? I love sharing my skincare online too. Like, I love sharing my hair routines. Like, I love like okay, like sitting down and like blow drying, whatever, spending a little me time, right? Like in my thoughts. But I also love like filming it and showing people how I do it. And for me, like they're both fun. Like I enjoy both of them. Like it's not like one or the other necessarily. So I
Mhm.
guess this is just my circumstance. If you really love what you do, you're not gonna feel so much like it's a work. So yeah,
Right. And it sounds like for you, you are able to notice and feel within yourself when you need to shut it off. Like it seems like you have a
yeah,
really great balance, but it is difficult. Like we're not even influencers and like we scroll on the For You page for hours and sometimes we're consumed by social media. So I
yeah.
imagine it's really hard.
It is difficult, and like I'm not gonna act like it's always been smooth sailing about it.
Mhm.
To be able to separate the two, and but you have to have a lot of you have to be self-aware. Actually, you know what? I'll just bring it up. I am writing a blog, which I don't know when it's gonna come out because I've really been like thinking this through. I want to really help people with their relationship with social media, right? Because I feel like I'm not perfect yet, but I feel like I've learned a lot of things that have helped me so much not get consumed too much by this world. Um, and anyways, in the blog, like I'm talking about like yes, you have to be like self-disciplined, but also like self-aware, right? So like if you're sitting on the For You page, like why? Like why are you sitting on the For You page, right? Like are you bored? Are you are you just looking for something to excite you? Like you got to be aware of these feelings that you feel like when you're sitting there like have you ever like sat there and just like spammed one person like looked at all of their stuff and gone on
Yes.
this deep dive kind of or like a YouTube rabbit hole like you know when you get
All
on
the
these
time.
social media rabbit holes right like where does that come from like is it coming from a place of insecurity or maybe it's coming from a place of like wanting to learn something that's a whole different thing right like I remember I used to get down these rabbit holes of like girls that you know were like so beautiful and had these gorgeous accounts and I'm like oh my god I'll never be that pretty or whatever right like that comes from a place of insecurity right but I love YouTube and sitting there and learning like oh my god this can sound so nerdy but I love like researching marketing stuff okay like I'm a nerd at heart I love like I'm not like academic when it comes to like school like I kind of like don't care too much but I love academics like for myself learning things that I'm genuinely interested in and marketing is one of them like once I got to I've always been like good at school and like academic and all that stuff but once I got to college I was like okay there's certain things that like I want to know I don't need to wait for a teacher to teach me sort of thing so anyways I got on YouTube and I would like research people like Gary Vee oh my god I love him watch his like 3 hour videos where he's like giving a seminar like I enjoy that and that comes from a place of like I want to learn something. I want to learn a skill. And that's a positive place. So if you become self-aware of like where these tendencies are coming from, right? A lot of people like they get depressed and they just on social media just to get excited or happy about something. You know, you got to recognize that in yourself, right? So I think when you recognize these things and these tendencies that we have, right? Then you can better like guide your experience, right? So every time I go on social media, I basically tell myself, okay, why? Like, why are we getting on social media? So I'll be like, okay, I'm getting on social media to get some fashion inspo. Okay, I'm getting on social media to do some hashtag research. Okay, I'm getting on social media just because I want to, just because it'll be fun, but I'm going to give myself a time limit. Like it's a little bit of self-discipline, but a whole lot more self-awareness. And once you're like really conscious about what you're looking your experience on social media completely changes. At least it did for me. And yeah, I'm really going to deep dive on that in my blog post and like I'm really trying to like help people because I know that that's such a big issue, especially for girls. And now getting into all this influencing, now that it's more normalized, I don't want to see like girls getting into this and becoming so insecure. Like that, I want this. I hope that people who get into influencing in this industry feel empowered and excited and like happy and have a positive experience on social media because I really do believe that there's more good out there than there is bad as long as we create that experience for ourselves. Like I said before, follow people that make you happy. that bring positivity in your life, who aren't triggering insecurity, right? So yeah, all of that really, really helps.
Wow. I love that whole message. I've never thought about getting on social media and having that self-awareness of why am I doing this right now?
Yeah.
I think that's great. I cannot wait to read the blog whenever you drop it.
Oh, I'll send it to you guys. I'll send you guys the
Yeah,
link.
please. Me too, because like when you were talking, I was thinking like when I get on social media, it's because
Yeah.
I'm bored or I don't
Mhm.
want to do homework and I want to
And that's
procrastinate.
totally normal. I don't want you to feel
Yeah.
like bad or anything. That's
Well,
completely normal.
yeah, for sure. It's a huge issue.
Yeah.
But like if you get on with a purpose and you're like, I'm gonna give myself 20 minutes
Mhm.
on social media and then get off,
Yeah.
like you don't feel so bad about wasting time. You don't feel bad about yourself or your life or
Yeah.
however else, the
Yeah.
negatives that social media brings. That's a really
Right.
good message. I like that.
Thank you. No, and I spend so much time on social media. I mean, like, I probably spend more time than like the average person because I work
Mhm.
in it, right? So I have
Right.
my clients and I have to, then I have my platform. And then there's also like a level of like, okay, like I can treat my platform like just a straight business, but like people don't follow me just because I'm like this perfect, like photogenic, whatever, like fashion inspo. Like people like to see me candidly. Like like I need to talk on the camera. I need to talk about my day. I need to say a funny story. Like I need to be active and have that human aspect, especially when you're a personal brand. So yeah, it's something you've got to learn to develop, right? Because if I was just constantly on social media, then it would screw with my head. So you gotta like learn these little like skills, and I think that that really helps you keep a healthy balance, you know.
For
But
sure,
yeah,
for sure. I have another question that I just thought of as well.
yeah,
I think pre-pandemic, people on social media wanted to see like the perfect curated feed and like perfect outfits, perfect makeup. And
yeah,
I think this past year and a half, there's been a change where people want the natural, the raw, the real, people talking on camera, just waking up in the morning.
yep.
Do you agree? Do you think that's really important? Is that what you
I
try and
think
do
that's
too?
I think that's so interesting you bring that up. So, I was reading, I can't even tell you where I was reading it, but I was reading something about like Gen Z, you know, like our generation pretty much, and how we grew up on Snapchat. Okay. I don't know if you guys can relate. At least I did grow up on Snapchat, that's for sure. I was, sending photos, sending funny videos, and everything's very candid. If
Hmm.
nobody on Snapchat is sitting there like I mean, yeah, there's the Snapchat filters, but like you're not like perfectly curating everything, right? That you're
Right.
sending to your friends. Well, that's how Gen Z grew up, right? So then we have this pandemic. Everybody's on social media. Gen Z right now is prevalent, right? Like we're like the new up and coming, right? We're like in our 20s and teens. We're basically controlling social media right now, mostly
Hmm.
Gen Z. And Gen Z is used to this candidness, right? Like we're not like millennials that grew up on Instagram or Facebook, right? Where everything's perfectly curated. We kind of like this raw, funny, like stuff, right?
Hmm.
The real like stuff. And I think that's why TikTok has been so successful. It's because not only was it a video platform, but people were being super raw. And I think that's why it blew up. And I think that now people want that. Like now, like they don't want that perfect influencer. Like they don't want you to be this perfect Barbie doll, perfect ambassador. Like no, no, no. They want the real. They want to know who you are. They want to understand you. They want to be a part of your experience. They want to be a part of your journey. So yeah, I don't think that. I think that nowadays, like you can't be an influencer if you're not going to be like transparent and real with people. Like you have to have something that brings you to the table and people feel like they can connect with you, because the thing is about influencing and basically any kind of building a brand online, if people don't feel like they can connect with you, then anything you have to say, they don't care, like if I don't get you to connect with me and like me and trust me, right? You have to trust me. The minute I show you a product or I'm wearing a certain brand, why do you care? you know you have to
Right.
trust me. You have to be like a fan, right? Like you have to genuinely be like love this person, right? And it's kind of like when we think of like celebrities and stuff, like we're big fans of them. Why? Because then they have like these interviews where they talk about their life, and then we become so interested, like, ooh, who are they dating, like, right? So we become invested in their lives the same way we become invested in a celebrity's life, um influencers have to do the same, right? Like people become invested in our lives, and that's why what we have to recommend or say about anything matters. It's because people are actually invested in what we have to say. So if you're just going to sit there and be perfect all the time, nobody can relate to that, you know? Nobody's perfect like that. So yeah, I think there always needs to be that level of like being real and transparent and like raw, you know? Absolutely.
Yeah, you have to be relatable. I think that's why someone like Emma Chamberlain is so famous now because she's relatable and she
Yeah,
sets up her videos and her feed like that. So,
yeah,
very good
yeah.
point.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some, I mean, most of the big influencers, I would say, all have like that raw aspect. You could
Hmm.
probably, unless they were been an influencer for a very long time or whatever. But most of the people, especially in our generation, that are blowing up on TikTok or blowing up on YouTube and all this stuff, and all these big, people, it's because they had something different. They had something unique about them. They were raw, they were real, they were relatable. And yeah, and I think that that's what makes them pretty successful. And I think that that's something like I had to learn a little bit like the hard way. So when I first got on TikTok, I don't know if I've ever mentioned this in front of people, but this is kind of funny. So when I first got on TikTok, when you first download the app, everything's like super trendy, right? Like all the stuff we see on
Hmm.
the For You pages, there's like trends, right? So I thought
Hmm.
that that's what you do on TikTok. So I was just like hopping on all these trends, and like my views were like whatever, like nothing was a very big deal. And I was like, oh, what's the deal with this TikTok thing? Like, how are people blowing up? So then I got introduced to like fashion TikTok, which very quickly actually, because I love fashion. That's what I do on Instagram. So I got on fashion TikTok. I'm like, oh, okay, so I'm gonna just do that. I'm gonna just like stand in front of a camera, put on clothes, maybe some transitions, call it a day. Still kind of trendy, right? And nothing. It wasn't really a big deal, no crazy views. The minute I started like talking about Instagram or influencing or I think the first thing I talked about was like how to create really aesthetic Instagram feeds or how to edit and like, how to do all this Instagram stuff. All of a sudden like these were things that other people weren't talking about. And people were like, oh, like that's cool. And then I started talking about the stuff I do on the back end, like the hashtags, and people were like, "Oh my god, what?" And like, these are things that people don't really talk about because all they do is show their cute outfits. They don't show like the back end, right? So then
Hmm.
that's kind of what my TikTok account became. It was like the back end of my Instagram. I think that's on my TikTok bio. This is the behind the scenes of my Instagram because it literally is like I talk about when 100 days 10K was going on. I show people like, oh, like this is how I would reach out to brands, or this is how I'm getting this brand collab, or I would show people what I'm doing on the back end. I'd show them my hashtag strategy. I'm showing them what works, what doesn't work, the hacks, right? Nobody else is doing that. And I think that that level of like rawness and like honesty was like kind of what attracted people to me. And yeah, and I think that like it made me learn like, okay, this is important, like to be honest, to be real, to bring something interesting to the table, to teach people something too, right? Because I feel like that's basically what I do on there is to show people and teach them. And sometimes I still post like the fashion stuff because I like it and it makes me happy, and that's really what it's there for. But yeah, I know that that's a really big reason why I was successful on TikTok was because of the transparency.
Wow.
Well, I think that's so cool. And as someone who is not an influencer, I can totally relate to that. And I like to see the real and the raw stuff. And I like to learn, just like you said, you like to learn about different things. I really like to learn. I love watching like how it's made or different things that interest me like that. I
Yeah.
can spend hours doing that. So I think it's so interesting if you have something to bring to the table like you do, showing how you can do all this stuff with hashtag strategy and different things like that. That's interesting to people and people want to learn. So I think that's really cool.
I think there's a big shift to like value-based content. So like you just like I was saying before, bring something to the table, but when you can teach people something, that's very valuable, right? Like that's something they'll save, they'll send to a friend, they'll keep, they'll or
Yeah.
comment. They want to learn more. They want more stuff like this. Like, and then people become really interested because you're teaching them something that they didn't know before. And I guess maybe I'm kind of like that too, right? Like I love watching YouTube videos about things of people teaching me stuff, you know? I think I learned how to put on makeup because of YouTube. You know, like I remember my mom like trying to put on makeup for me, and I'm just like, I look ridiculous. I like did a little YouTube search, fell in love with Michelle Phan, and Michelle Phan basically taught me how to put on makeup. Okay, like everything I know about makeup, that woman taught me. So yeah, I think that there's a lot of people interested in just like learning something. Like they want to learn something. They don't really care like like they don't really care what you're wearing. I mean, it depends, right? But like for the most part, if you got to bring something to the table, inspire them, teach them, make them excited about something. Those are really the key things when it comes to creating content. You want to either inspire them, you want to motivate them, you want to teach them something, you want to make them laugh, you want to entertain them. Those are the things, right? Those are the things that I think make a really good piece of content.
I'm thinking about all the videos that I like on TikTok, and most of them are
Mhm.
like that. It's like 5 ways to wear this jacket this fall, like things like that.
Yeah,
So I think that
yeah,
that's very true. This generation really is valuing the content that gives us something.
yeah.
Yeah,
Why are you? Why should I sit here and listen to you? Like that's
right.
what every viewer's thinking, right? When they're scrolling on TikTok, why do I care? So if you can make them care in the first, 5 seconds, 3 seconds of the video, then they're invested. You know. So yeah, and it's a competition because there's so many people on TikTok, so much content. So it's the competition to get your attention. I mean, that's really what social media is, right? Everybody trying to get somebody's attention. So if you bring something to the table, value-based content, then it'll work out better for you.
Well, awesome. I think we should do some questions
Okay.
and have you answer some of the things that people are wondering. Um, One of the first questions that somebody submitted is, how do you get others to take videos and pics of you? I feel so awkward when I ask.
Okay. So basically, okay. So when I create content, a lot of times like I plan it, right? So I'll say, okay, we're gonna go to this location, whatever, and I go by myself with a tripod. I mean, sometimes I go with a friend, and if I do go with a friend, it's a friend who is into this as well. So if I were you and you want to go with somebody else, you don't want to be alone. Go with somebody who's also a content creator because that's gonna help because they understand. They're not gonna be annoying about taking photos. Only thing is like be respectful, right? Like if you're taking forever to get the perfect photo and they need to get photos too, you're gonna have to balance. So I think it becomes more difficult in that sense because you're working with somebody else and they need content, you need content, right? So that's why I find it difficult sometimes to like shoot with other people. I think that you lose a little bit of time because you have to shoot for them and you have to shoot for yourself. But those are the best people usually to ask because they understand, like they're doing the same thing, right? But yeah, or just get a tripod, download Lens Buddy. It's a great app. It'll take the photos for you. Or you could also just get like a Bluetooth remote for the camera and plan out your location, shoot the photos, whatever. Now, if you're in a situation where like it's a social setting, you're on a trip with family, anything like that, where you can't really like plan the content. You're just like shooting as you go, right? Um, I think it's good to like maybe have a conversation with whoever you're there with. If you're taking influencing seriously or content creation seriously, I think at this point, like my parents, like and my sister, they understand what I do, so they don't really give me a hard time about it because they know that this is important to me, that I need to get this done, especially if it's like a brand collaboration. Like, listen, I need to get this photo, whatever. So as long as you have a conversation with them and be like, hey, like, is it okay with you if like we just shoot some photos? But the best thing you can do is get really good at shooting photos because the worst thing is that you ask somebody, maybe it's not even family, maybe it's like a friend, right, who's like not really into this, and they're gonna be the first people to get annoyed. You gotta get good at like getting that photo quick because if you're gonna sit there forever shooting the photos, you're quickly going to annoy that person, and yeah, and then that's gonna make you feel bad, and you're gonna feel like, oh my gosh, like I don't want to do this. I don't want to, constantly ask people because they're going to, give me that energy. So get good at taking photos so that you can be quick about it. If you can get the photo in the first 10 minutes, like, or 5 minutes, that'd be great. Like, don't take up too much of this person's time. Um, but yeah, for the most part, I like to plan my stuff, go by myself, have my tripod. I know how much time I'm going to take. It's only my time that is like on the line basically. So that's the only time I have to worry about. So I can take as long as I need, whatever. But I think over time I've gotten really good at like knowing my, I guess, knowing my angles and stuff and like understanding how to get the shot. So it's really quick. I'm like, hey, stand here, point this way, and then you're just gonna click that until I tell you to stop. And I just pretend like they're a human tripod. I get the photo within the first, 5 minutes. I mean, 5 minutes max, honestly. And then we're good. And you have to also understand that you might not get the perfect photo, and that's okay too. Okay? So, like, you need to accept sometimes that the lighting is just going to be off, or you just don't look good that day. You're not feeling yourself. The person sucks at taking photos, whatever. Like, don't get overly frustrated about it, because it happens and there's nothing really you can do about that. So yeah, I would say get really good at taking photos by yourself, and then when you're with other people, make sure you just have a conversation, be respectful about it. If they don't want to take a photo, like, you gotta accept that it's your business, so you gotta do what you gotta do. Like, you can't rely on other people, right? So yeah, that's what I would do.
Okay. And so this question we already kind of touched on. Is influencing a full-time job? How long does it take to create content every week?
Is influencing a full-time job? It can be. It can also be a side hustle. Totally up to you. It's like, okay, think of it like freelancing on anything, right? Like, you're a freelance writer. If you take a lot of jobs, it's going to be a full-time job. If you take one job, then it's only going to be a little gig. So it's completely up to you whether or not it is a full-time job, but I believe it can be a full-time job. Absolutely. And what was the other part of the question about
How,
how long?
yeah, how long does it take to create content every week?
Okay, well, the more content you make, the better you're going to get at it. So, a lot of people are like, oh my God, it takes me forever to take photos, whatever. The more you do it, the faster you're going to get. Okay. So, that it totally depends on the person. I know some people who like actually have a 9 to 5 and then do influencing on the side. So they shoot all their content like on the weekend, and then they like post throughout the week. So you can do it like that. You just have to find a schedule that works for your own personal life. Everybody's life is different and everybody's schedule is different. So finding a schedule that works for you, and content batching is super helpful, which is basically just like when you shoot everything ahead of time and then post it, little by little. So you always have like a library of photos and content. That's super helpful. But yeah, it's totally up to you to like create that schedule that will work for you, if that makes sense. So it's
That's part
different.
of, yeah, that's part of the business. Like, you get to create your own schedule.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Two more. Where do you get your clothes? Your style is so cute.
So a lot of my stuff recently has been gifted. I'm so excited to say that. Like, that makes me so happy. There was a point when I was like, because to do this is it's a little bit like an investment. I'm not gonna lie. Like, when you first start posting content, unless you have like a phenomenal closet, right, where you could just start posting whatever it is you have, which is probably what you should do, right? At some point you're gonna run out of clothes, and you're gonna be like, okay, I need to go shopping, and it's gonna kind of be like a business investment because you're not getting collabs yet, you're not getting paid yet, maybe you have a small account at the moment. So yeah, there's gonna be a moment when like you have to buy your own stuff, but I'm super happy to say that, like, now I have a lot of stuff that's gifted, it's from different brands. So I don't feel like I run out of like clothes that much. But anyways, one of some of my favorite brands, I really like Zara because it's very European. I really love that European look, even though now they're getting kind of trendy. Like, I love Zara, but that's not always like very like cost effective, right? Like, they're not necessarily on a budget over there. So yeah, if you're on a budget, I would say Amazon. You'll find so many things on Amazon, especially like your basics or like very specific pieces that you want. Try Amazon. And then some other places I love. I'm trying to think. I've recently fallen in love with Princess Polly. I did a collaboration with them, but I had actually never tried the boutique before. And I don't know why, but I had this impression that like it wasn't going to be very good quality, but I was totally wrong. Like, totally wrong. I love the quality of their clothing, I love the style. I see myself keeping all the clothes that they gave me for a very long time and like buy more in the future and hopefully collaborating with them in the future. I love them. So I really like Princess Polly. I think they're great. For like an online boutique, they're pretty reliable as far as like material, clothing, and all that stuff. Um, and yeah, Amazon, I like Zara. I'm trying to think. I like to thrift. Okay, so really unique pieces. If you want something like really cool, really unique, very like 90s or like very 80s or like, very Y2K, all that stuff is so in now. You could thrift that, okay? So even though, I mean, yeah, you want to have a new thing, but I would, if you're on a budget and you really want to like build a nice wardrobe, get into thrifting. It's kind of something you have to learn trial by error, kind of like learning your area, understanding how it works. But yeah, thrifting is great, especially if you want like a unique piece nobody else is gonna have, and like everybody's gonna ask you where it's from, and be like, it's vintage or like it's thrifted, whatever. I love doing that. I love thrifting because it just feels like such a unique and fun experience, and you just get to like pick pieces that really speak to you. You're not like being affected by like what might be trendy right now. Like all the clothes there is old, okay? So it's really up to you to see what you're gravitated towards. So I really enjoy thrifting, but I've always been like into shopping. Like I could spend a lot of time at a mall, at a physical mall, okay? Like not online shopping. Like nowadays everybody just online shops and like that's fine. I do that too. But I love like spending time walking into stores and like I enjoy that experience. So yeah, I feel like thrifting is kind of the same thing. You have to like go to stores and like see and like, it's a process. It takes long. It's not like Amazon. You're not gonna get a 1 day shipping, but it's a cool experience if you want to build a really unique closet.
Well, awesome. Those are such great suggestions. We have one more question. So somebody asked, how long did it take to grow your following?
So it took me 2 months to make my account hit 4,000. So I was at like 2,000 something, 2,800 or something like that. It took me like less than 2 months, 30 days, I think, 30 something days to hit 4,000. And that was when I first started talking about Instagram on my account. I was like, okay, guys, this is what I'm doing on the back end. When I started 100 days to 10K, I had like 4,200, something like that. So let's just say 4,000. And I more than doubled it. Now I'm at 8,700, something like that, within 100 days. So yeah, less. I mean, within the past year, basically, is when I've blown up my account, and a lot of that is accredited to TikTok because TikTok. I obviously was talking about my account and all this stuff, but I also started implementing all of these Instagram strategies. I started implementing Pinterest into my strategy as well, which you'll see on my TikTok. You'll see how like I explain it and how I do it. All of that combined is what caused my Instagram to blow up. So it was kind of like it's not just posting, right? Like you can't just post and then expect all this engagement. It takes a while. It takes a lot of platforms funneling in, right? TikTok and Pinterest were like my two funnels, and then that's how I got like my Instagram to grow. But in the process, my Pinterest grew, and in the process, my TikTok grew as well. So yeah, like within those 100 days, I doubled my Instagram following. So yeah, you can double your Instagram following or more than double it in just 100 days. It's up to you how you handle this sort of thing. I talked about this before on like my Instagram story and stuff like that. You have to be like you have to like set a goal and like stick to it. Stick to a strategy. Be consistent. Like it's completely up to you how long it will take because everybody's different. Everybody's content is different. Your experience is different. I was already pretty experienced in photography and creating content. So that was already a hurdle I kind of had already gone over. So it was really just about the strategy, right? But for some people, they're new to content creation. So they have this great strategy, but then their content isn't so great. And like I know that's not something nice to hear, but it's the truth. When you first start, it's not so great. So that also plays a factor, right? So it totally depends on where you are right now in your journey, and then like what you're willing to do to get there. In 100 days, I more than doubled my Instagram following, but I had a lot of experience and a lot of knowledge before that to set up a strategy that I knew would work for me. So it completely depends. Like yeah, it's uncomparable. I think depending on the person, what kind of content you're making. But I totally believe that like you can blow up your account in a very short period of time, like I did. Um, just takes a lot of consistency, a good mindset as well. So
That's really impressive.
thank you.
It's very
Thank
cool.
you. Thank you. Thank you. I never thought I'd be able to do that, but it was funny. The reason why I blew up my account was because it was this brand I really wanted to work with. And on their application it said that they didn't work with anybody under 4,000 followers. And at the time I had like 2,000 something. So I was like, I need to hit 4,000. So then that's when I started, like, around that time was when I realized that people liked hearing about Instagram and TikTok. So then I made that little like challenge. I was like, okay, I want to hit 4,000 followers. And then I started documenting it on TikTok. My account grew. And then I was like, oh my God, that grew so fast. Like, all you have to do is kind of like set your mind to it. That sounds so cheesy, but like it's true. You set your mind to it, and then I was like, okay, let's get even crazier out here. Let's do 100 days and try and hit 10,000, right? And I didn't hit 10,000, but I came pretty close. And it's been pretty cool. It's been pretty cool. I kind of like after that have taken not a step back. Like I still make a lot of content, but like stopping a little as intense, like giving myself a break, I say. Okay. Like I gave myself a little bit of a break, still creating content, all that, but I wasn't as intense about it as I was during the 100 days. Now it's like, okay, I really want to hit 10K before the end of the year. So let's like ramp it up again. But yeah, I think if you set your mind to it, you can totally do it.
I'm
Well,
manifesting. Oh, sorry, Haley. I was going to say, I'm manifesting that you will hit 10K by the end of the year.
Woohoo! We're manifesting it right here on this podcast. Let's go.
and I think that that is a great message for anyone. Like in whatever you do, if you set your mind to it, then you can really achieve whatever goal you have, whether that's social
Yeah.
media or something in your career or in your personal
Yeah.
life. I think that's a really good lesson.
Yeah. When it comes to social media, like people need to stop getting in their own way. Okay? Like I feel like so many people they're just getting in their own way. Like they're comparing themselves to other people. They're like, "Oh, well, they're only big because of this," or "I can never be like that." Like, no, like you're unique. You have something to bring to the table. Stop getting in your own way. You do you. Focus and like learn. Like there's a lot of laziness going around. Like oh, I'm gonna just blow up like in 5 seconds on TikTok. It took me a while to blow up on TikTok. Okay, and once I finally did, I feel like I had learned so many things, and that's what helped me consistently blow up on TikTok. And I had to learn a lot of things before. Like I said, I like to sit on YouTube and learn stuff. People have to do the work. You have to do the work on the back end if you want to see success. It's not just gonna happen. And I think that's something we kind of have to learn. There's a lot of instant gratification in our generation, right? So I think that's something we kind of have to hurdle. That's a hurdle for us, right? Like in general, right? We're used to social media. We're used to things happening on the second, on demand. Like we don't even watch television with commercials nowadays. We just watch Netflix, like, right? So we need to like get over like the instant gratification thing and like, learn, figure it out, go through the process. I think there's so much value in that.
I love that.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Elizabeth, thank you so much for coming on today. Why don't you drop your Instagram for all of our listeners?
Yeah. Okay. So I'm Elizabeth_Jude_ on every platform, Instagram, Pinterest, TikTok, whatever. And if you want to see my blog, it's elizabethjude.com. So pretty easy to find. And it's linked on all of my social handles. So yeah.
Well, thank you
Awesome.
so much.
Thank you guys so much for having me. Like, love the podcast, love what you're doing. Two young women, like, this is great. So I wish you guys all the success in the world.
Thank you so much. You as well.
Thank you.
All right, you guys, we hope that you enjoyed that interview with Elizabeth. I know that we both did. She's so cute. I love her now.
Yeah, we were fangirling for a minute after. That was really fun.
So fun. So definitely go check out all of her socials, as she said. And of course, we will tag her and everything on Instagram so that you guys can find her easily, and we'll put her handles in the show notes for you guys. As always, you can find us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean. We are on Twitter now, so definitely go check us out on that. You can find us everywhere at Real Talk About Feminism or Real Talk About Feminism podcast. So follow us on Instagram, subscribe to all of our channels so that you get those notifications when those episodes drop every Sunday night.
Thank you so much, and we'll see you guys next week.
See you guys next week.